Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel, and I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Beauty in Black, which is currently streaming on Netflix. This is season 2, episode 6. Thank you for joining me. Please like this video. All are welcome to subscribe if you are not a subscriber as of yet, and you can also leave your comments below. Let's get into this episode. Okay, so we begin where we left off. Rain shows up at Dega's hotel room while she's about to administer this fix-a-flat BBL. Rain wants to confront Dega about what she did to her body. She almost died. Dega was like, well, you didn't. Anyways, I'm a nurse and da-da-da-da-da. I wouldn't have done anything to you, da-da-da-da-da. So we end up finding out the girl's name that Rain was supposed to come with. They call her Young Thing. I think that is so inappropriate. Now, I know that they are trafficking young folk and people that are not even of age. But what in the world are y'all doing as far as not being careful at all? Why in the world would you say Young Thing? Now, the girl's allegedly 18. I don't even believe that, in my opinion. Anyways, so Rain and Dega get to tussling. Rain gets the first hit, and then quickly Dega then took over. You know, I don't want to be on Dega's side, but Rain, what were you thinking? You can't fight. You tried to talk a good game like you were really this strong person. Sit down somewhere, and you almost got killed. But Alex stepped in. He took out the technician that was there, powed Dega, and ended up powing, shake. And he was about to take out Young Thing. And we found out her name is Adeline. But Rain wanted to spare her. And Alex was like, you can't have any witnesses around. She said, no, she'll be good. So she ends up robbing Dega for whatever money she had. She said, take this, go away, and never come back. You know, and of course, Adeline is just very distraught after seeing all of this stuff happening around her. So anyways, her life's been spared and all that good stuff. Sorry. Okay, so back at Charles's house, Dylan is calling Andy because now they didn't already have sex, him and Charles, and wants to get an update, you know, are y'all coming? And Andy was like, yeah, but I don't get off until such time. They're gonna show up with the delivery truck since it's going to be probably morning time when they get there. So in the VIP room, guess what Roy did? He was able to smash old girl Felicia. Now he ain't been able to do that in forever, blah, 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 blah. But Roy likes her, and now he also was messing with other two girls. I guess he had sex with her. And then now she's trying to feed his ego. Damn, daddy. Oh, my God. You know you didn't enjoy it like that. But, you know, you got to talk the talk if you want to remain relevant in these dudes' lives that can give you a certain lifestyle. And then Felicia starts treating the other girls like they were her 304s. And she was the madam. After he got done having sex, he wanted to get his anatomy wiped off, cleaned off. And she orders the girl to go get some warm water and some soap. She comes back, and I guess it's too hot. She ends up slapping the girl and saying, it's too hot. Put some cold water up in there. And Roy loved all of that. He was eating it up, blah, 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 blah. Alex and Rain. Okay, this is after they are back around the property. He says, don't go into the house as of yet because you got all that, the blood all over you. Come to my place. Then Rain was like, you ain't slick, Japa ninja. So, Alex later says when he gets to their place, you know, we should not have let Adeline live. And Rain was like, she's not going to say nothing. She's just like Kimmy and me. We've been through a lot. And we just don't want to be a part of this. She's going to run and go away. Alex gets into more as to how he is in regards to when he needs to take care of somebody, is that he doesn't mind taking somebody out if they're doing bad things, And Rain was like, "Are you Robin Hood?" Like, no, it's just how it is right now as far as even being in this whole situation. So Alex at this point is trying to convince Rain more. So you know I got you guys, and I want to be in with you guys. And Rain was like, "No, will you let me in?" She just says, "It's a start." I wonder how this is going to go once he gets in, because it does seem a little bit shaky as to Alex right now, but I guess we shall see. Roy comes home and he ends up going over to Horace's home, drunk. He's outside the window where Kimmy's reading some books, and security comes over and wants to know what's up. Roy starts getting loud and indignant. Kimmy comes out, and then he starts questioning Kimmy like, "How did you do this, itch?" And she said, "I'm good." And Roy says, "You think that he's going to protect you, huh?" She's like, "No." But she said, "You know he's going to be pissed that you're here. But you know what? I'm saving all of my piss to piss on his grave when he goes on to glory." Next thing you know, we see Horace. He's been standing there, and he said, "What did you say?" He ends up getting his other security guards and told the security guards to do what I pay you to do. And they wrestle him to the ground and hold him down. Horace ends up pissing on Roy. I said, wow. I did not see that coming. He got his cane and he did hit him once, of course. I just want to know where this hatred comes from. I really feel like possibly he was forced into a lavender marriage and forced to have children for legacy purposes. I think that he's been out here doing his thing with other dudes. I don't know if Olivia knows it or not. But oof, that's the only way I could understand the hatred. Of course, they said that the father was bad, so maybe he just gets that evilness from him, and that's it. I don't know. They leave him be, and then he gets up and has the walk of shame. I don't know how I'd feel if someone was pissing on me. My God. So the next morning, Norman comes over to Olivia's home. And of course, she's like, "What do you want? Come answer this door, woman." So Norman says, "I heard about you at the restaurant being drunk and belligerent." But he says that his reason for coming by is that was an email sent by Horace that there's a meeting today that we got to meet the new COO. And they get a fine if there is a no-show. I said, "Oh, okay." Then Olivia brings up about Norman. "I know what you did to Harold and Gloria." "What did I do?" "Don't play with me like I don't know." And then Norman says, "All I can tell you is that it was done." Then next thing you know, Olivia says that, "I don't give a about what you were doing in that strip club," which I think is kind of awful, Olivia. But y'all some selfish MFs. Like, what in the world? You're okay with them trafficking women, and they're doing it to men. That is some crazy stuff. Norman says, "Why have you been asking my accountant for some money? You were going to use that for leverage to blackmail me? What is it, for the mortgage?" Norman ends up letting it out that he knows that she's in debt in over $1 million. And then they go into talking about Kimmy again. She's not going to come in here and take what's mine. It's mine. All of it. And I'm trying to get even with Horace. Well, what even, though? We need some more explanation about this whole getting even. Because you were going to rob him because you were in debt. Because of your own gambling problem. I'm not saying that Horace is not an evil person, but what did he do? I just need more explanation. Kimmy's not going to take mine. Then she gets mad at Norman and says, "Get that out of my house." All right, it is the next morning. It started with Olivia and Norman. Kimmy's reading some stuff. Rain comes in, and Kimmy notices that Rain had a hard night and she's gonna be sleeping all morning. Basically, she just still in the club mentality. Kimmy was like, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" And Rain was like, "What are you thinking? What does this mean for us if Horace gets better? Because Horace is about to go take a trip to see if he can get some treatment." And Rain was like, "That's not what I was thinking. I think that we'll be fine." She says, he hates his ex-wife and she's still in the land of living, so why are you so worried? But anyways, Rain wants to talk to Horace about getting the club. "Do you mind?" And Kimmy was like, "No." Mallory tries to wake up Roy. And of course, she finds that the clothes that were pissed on was in the middle of the bathroom floor. And she's, of course, pissed at him. Like, "Did you piss all over your clothes?" Da, 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 da. Anyways, get ready for work. She had some more insults and all that, but I don't care. Back at Horace's home, Angel's just breathing it all in. He talks with Horace. Horace is really happy that Angel's happy. He says, "So I'm not under Julius anymore. I'm free." He's like, "Yes. And you are free to leave." Horace says that, "I have a feeling that you won't." And then Angel was like, "How?" "Look around." Of course, who's going to leave that? But you got a child. Anyways, he says, there are cars that you can ride. There's some that you cannot. But one thing I ask you to do is not to take my watches. He said, "Look, I learned my lesson in regards to that." Horace ends up taking off a watch that he has on him right now. He says that this is a more cheaper one, but you can have it. And Angel was like, "Oh, no, I can't do that to you." And Horace was like, "I wish you would stop with this fake humility and take it." Kimmy comes into the room and she sees Horace off, and tells her to call him after the meeting and all that. She says that, "I hope you come back." And Horace says that, "I almost believe you." So, of course, it's morning time. Dylan is already up. Charles finally wakes up out of his whatever. He says that you need to leave. He says, "Well, I came with you." "Well, you need to go find a car." He says, "No, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to let you sleep for a little bit longer." And he's like, "Go." Anyways, Charles didn't really put up a fight. Dylan just says, "Go sleep, go sleep." He goes out into the main area, and Varney is there. And basically, Varney's ready to put this man out. So he said, "Go get your stuff and let's go." He goes into Charles's room and said, "What are you doing?" He needs to go. I'm putting him out. And then all of a sudden, Charles wants this dude to stay. And Varney was like, "Well, what's up?" "No." "You just said that you want him gone, and now you don't because I want him gone." He did say that you need to get up for this meeting. And Charles is not really having it, whatever. And then Varney says, "Why the F do I care?" We're all thinking that, Varney. I don't know what's wrong with you at this point. Then Dylan up here starting to talk. Or Dustin. That's his name. I don't know why I call him Dylan. Anyways, he ended up saying some stuff. And then Varney was like, "Shut up, itch, before I slap you. Are you?" I would like to see that happen. But anyways, Charles kicks. Well, I guess Varney was basically frustrated and ready to go again. Go figure. Again, Dustin was just going to let Charles take a nap. Alex and Horace. Okay, Alex is taking Horace to the airport. And they start talking about Kimmy and Rain and all that good stuff, Alex was just saying how much he understands them after, what they've been through, It's going to take a little time for them to adjust. Horace says to Alex, or orders him to keep an eye on them while he's gone. And then he said, "Yes, I will do that, sir. My loyalty is to you." And Horace says, "Shut up with the BS. Don't ever lie to me again." I'm glad that Horace is probably the least trusting person on here. As far as, look, you can't run game on me, basically. Alright, so Sylvie, Angel, Kimmy, and Rain, they're having breakfast outside. Mallory comes. She has a bouquet of flowers for Kimmy and saying, you know, I'm ready to, just wanted to say good morning to our new COO and all that, and ready for you to come into the office. I'm ready to learn and to see what bright ideas you have. And then Kimmy was like, well, we will see, won't we? Then there's this shade fest that happens, that comes out of Mallory. And it's this slick shade. She says, well, how are you liking things around? Oh, how has it been around here? And Kimmy says, perfect. Mallory, perfect. She basically checks her on her vernacular and diction on certain words. I said, Lord, again, if this isn't Veronica Harrington all over again, I don't know who is not. She says, well, I know that the house can be overwhelming. You know, it's old, heavy, the decor. My father-in-law loves antiques, old, used, and dark. I said, oh, you really laying it in there. So then, of course, Rain's catching it, and of course, Kimmy's catching it. So Rain taps in and says, well, speaking of men, how is your husband? My husband? You have not met him yet. Yes, I have, at the hospital. He's well. Then Kimmy says, do you need anything else, or can it wait until I get into my office? Your office? No, all is well. And I will see you then. And by the way, Kimmy, welcome to the family. Then she takes off her bougie fakeness, and then she goes off on the driver because she's really sick of this BS. She has a new driver, and he doesn't know her schedule. And she's like, you don't even know my itinerary, da-da-da-da-da. And he's smelling a certain way to her. He's smelling like juices and berries and all this stuff. I'm so sick of Jules and all of that. So then she says, look, if you're gonna drive me, you're gonna have to have the window down with your head outside. Mallory. All right, so Dustin ends up, and the robbers, they come. Dustin gets dressed and he gets the others in because they pull up in their delivery van, and Andy stays outside. He says that somebody's got to be a lookout. He didn't want his hands dirty. While the robbers are coming in, Charles comes out of his room, and Dustin says, you're going to show us where that safe is at. Charles tries to run back into his room, but they block him. But anyways, Charles ended up taking on those two other robbers, and Dylan's yelling to the side, get him, beat us. I'm like, what? So anyways, they got guns, but they didn't even use them. Next thing you know, Charles has an emergency gun underneath one of his tables, and he brings it out and shoots all three of them, including Dylan. I said, Lord. So that's the next thrill that we got going on in episode 6. So it's interesting as to what's going to happen. I can't wait to see Kimmy in the boardroom. If you've seen the trailer, then you know what's going to happen next, even in how Kimmy is going to perform. And what is this mess that Charles is getting himself into? I don't know. But anyways, thank you for coming by. Leave your comments below. Let me know what's up. Please like, also comment, and you can subscribe. And until the next video, peace.